Something laser DIY kit. No, it's not something, it's algo. But makes me chuckle is algo is a Spanish word for something. But this is the DIY kit sent to me by Algo to test and demonstrate, which is what I'm going to do here. Comes with the air assist pump. A little bit of assembly required. I'll open the box and show you what it is. I'm not going to go through a detailed unboxing on this one, but I am going to get detailed on the assembly. Don't know what's going to be involved yet. Haven't opened it up. We're going to find out. And I know some people get confused on assembly, so we're going to go into great detail on that. So in these boxes, first was the air pump. It comes with a quick start guide for the air pump, and it is probably going to be typical of a lot of the air pumps you see. Yes, it is. It's the typical style air pump you get with Algo lasers. And I have another one because that's how I know that. So we don't need this for a while, so I'm going to set that off to the side. On the main box here, you've got a quick start guide, and you've got some cable ties, a piece of acrylic, little brush, so it looks like some aluminum business cards you can play with. And there's a piece of 1/8 inch plywood, yeah, it's 1/8 inch, in here as well as you can play with. We have some foam. Then everything is packaged nicely as you see here. So I'm going to get this all unboxed and everything laid out. We'll get this thing put together. Okay, I got everything unboxed and laying out here. This could be pretty simple and straightforward. You got 3 bags here. They're stapled together. They have hardware in them and some tools. I would suggest if you have one of these little magnetic parts trays to dump all your screws and everything in there. It'll be easy to find. There's also a couple of keys in there. One of your bags will have the belts in. Something I suggest you do while you're assembling everything else is get them belts out and get them straightened out. Now these aren't too bad. We kind of get them laid out and straightened out so that they won't be quite so curly when you go to put them in. This is your Wi-Fi antenna, which we'll get to here later. And in your next bag, you got the little focus cylinder for setting your focus. That's what this guy here is. And you've got a little wrench in there. A screwdriver, some very small Phillips. You got a couple of 3 alien wrenches in there. Although I'll be using ball drivers, they are in there. There is a limit switch in here and your thumb screws for the laser adjustment. The air assist hose is also rolled up, so if you can get that undone ahead of time and stretched out and see if it'll get some of the curl out of it. You may need to put it in someplace warm to get the curl out. Boy, it's not very long either. Because like right away it's going to want to do this. So I may use some of my rubber tubing instead, but I mean, this is perfectly adequate. It's just you need to get it straightened out. Okay, we're going to get into the assembly here, and some people say, well, you know, you just oversimplify, you make it way too simple. Everybody knows that. Well, no, everybody doesn't know that, and that's why I do these detailed. If you're adept at doing this, fast forward or something like that, maybe to just a point where you need to know about. But otherwise, I'm going to take this through step by step. All of your rail pieces are lettered. This is like part D, C, A, B. Everything's lettered. This should be pretty simple. I'm going to get you around here close and zoom in and show you where all the screws go and everything. Okay, you want to lay out your parts. So B will be at the back. Boom. C will be at your left. Got numbers on it. And there's a short distance here and a long distance here between the numbers. You want the longer distance part towards you. And then part D will be on your right. You'll need the legs. Get them unpackaged here. Okay, on the legs you have lefts and you have rights. So as you look at this one here, the short stub going this way, that's the leg over here. This one with a short stub going this way, That'll be the leg on your right. On the front will be just exactly the opposite, but so you'll be looking at them like this. Don't put them like, well, I don't think they go together that way, but don't make that mistake. So we're going to start by putting the back corners together. This will fit in like so. I'm showing this here up close. This will fit in like so, and there'll be a screw that will also go in the end down here. And that will be one of these shorter ones. Yeah, not the medium one, the short one. That'll be one of these short ones like this. These are 3 M&Ms if you're using a driver like I am. Now you'll have a long one that's going to go through the side over here. And it'll go like this, and it will screw into part B right here. And then you'll notice that there is a tapped hole. Make sure that is towards the back, because that's where this hole here is going to fasten into. So we'll set this one in here. We'll get it started in the center of that. And we'll take one of the medium length screws, as I'm calling them. We've got small, medium, and long here. We'll get that started in here. And then once everything is started, you can snug them up. Because the way this is constructed, it's not going to wobble anywhere. Then you need to do that exact same thing on this other corner. On your part C, make sure that the 0, your number, is towards you on the front left and not at the back right. Okay, next you'll be rolling on the X gantry, and this is called a stepper motor if you're not familiar with lasers and so on. That will be towards the back. And the extrusions fit between these sets of rollers right here. You just need to roll that on both sides. Like so. Now you'll be putting on the front legs, and along with part A, which you will need. Now you'll notice on part A here there's 2 holes that are tapped. That will need to be towards the left. And there's a label here. You want the label up. So it will sit like so. And again, you make sure you got the right and left, the right directions. You'll find out real quick if you got them backwards. Well, the screws on the end here, the little short ones, actually are going to have a washer on them, but when we go to do the belts. But for right now, I'm just kind of sticking them in there to get everything lined up good. You could put the washer on ahead of time if you wanted to. Next are the belts. So this is where a lot of people have problems with lasers and 3D printers and so on. You notice that the belt has teeth on one side. The teeth will go down. When you look at the shaft that goes across the x-axis right here, you notice that there is a sprocket there. I'm on the stepper motor side here. So there's a couple different ways you can do this. One is you can feed this under this roller, over that sprocket, then under the next roller. The other way is, and I find this easier, is to go over the top with the teeth down and get under one roller, scooch that out there, then come over here and do the same thing under the other roller. So that you are like so. Now I'm going to turn this around on the back side. So here, again, I had put these end screws in just for alignment purposes, but you're going to need to put a washer on that end screw. Start that in there a little bit. And there's a slot right there. You need to pass the belt through that slot. Then it will come up over the washer. And you just need a little bit out there and then tighten that screw down. We're going to set the belt tension on the front. So now that you've done this side, you need to do the same thing over here and get the belt on it. Again, for me, I find it easier to go over the top of the sprocket. Just make sure that your teeth are pointing down. A lot of people get confused and have a problem with this. And just pass that through that slot down there. And I'll need to put my washer on there. Okay, we're done at the back. Now we're going to go to the front, and this is where we'll set the belt tension. Okay, here again, you'll pass the belt through that little slot in the leg. Do that on each side. Now you want to make sure that your gantry is aligned. I don't know if they go over this or not, but I've seen this problem several times. You want to move your gantry all the way to the back until it hits the stops on the back. Now you've got both of your belts sticking out here in the front. Make your end screw there with your washer. Get it started. Pull this taut, but don't stretch it. Just pull it taut. And tighten your screw down. And again, make sure that your gantry is staying square against the back. Or you'll get this out of square, it's going to work a little wonky. Again here, pull it tight, and no tools are required to pull that. Just pull it finger tight. And don't stretch it. Tighten that screw down. Then you should be able to this should move smoothly. Everything looks good there. We don't have any wobble anyplace. Turn this upside down just to, in case there's, and this is probably jumping ahead, I don't read that far in the instructions. There's a nut on the bottom rollers. It's called an eccentric nut. And it's right down in here. And they give you a wrench, get the right size on there, where you can turn those if you need to. These rollers you should be able to turn them freely with your fingers, but you don't want them to just spin, but you also want to make sure they roll. You get that too tight and this will bind up. If it's too loose, you'll get wobble. The way I see these right now, they're set pretty much absolutely perfect. I don't have any wobble, everything moves smoothly. I don't have any rock, everything's just right there, so thought I'd point that out while we're still just only partially assembled here. In this other bag here with the little mounting plate and the limit switch, that is going to mount right here. So we'll take that hardware out, we'll get that all in here. And you'll also have your thumb screws for the laser head in there, so don't lose those. There's 2 screws in here, they're pretty tiny. Actually, there's 4 screws. And this is your limit switch. So you want to not lose your screws. This plate mounts like this. It's got a little bevel here over here. That will be to the outside. And you have 4 of these little Phillips head screws. There's 2 sets of mounting holes here. There's a forward set and a backward set. You want to use the set closest to the front. This is the front, because this is the 10 watt head. I would imagine if this had a 20 watt head, you'd use the other set of mounting holes, as it would set the laser head farther back from the front bracket. Well, we get these 2 little screws in there. And now the limit switch mounts with the prongs back right here to the back, and you want it so that the little red button you see right there will meet this bracket on the X, or I should say on the Y travel. It will meet this bracket. Don't over tighten these screws or you'll break your limit switch. It's just made out of plastic and they will break if you over tighten these. You just need them snug. So there's how the limit switch should look when it's mounted. Again, this red button right here will need to meet this when it comes forward like that. Okay, for mounting the laser module, there's a dovetail here, and they give you a couple thumb screws to put in. And I am going to move these down. There's several holes on the side you could choose from. 5 holes altogether, but I'm going to move this down here so that we're not at the top, because when I go to engrave my spoil board on here, I would miss that completely. So that's all there is to mounting that. And then up here for the limit switch, you'll need to have this so that it is mounted with this little red button where it will meet the y-axis travel on this. So that little red button will meet on the limit switch will meet that bracket. So make sure you're mounted exactly like this. And don't over tighten these screws or you'll break something. Next we have the control box that goes on the front right here. Make sure your cables are over to the left and out of the way. You see there's a couple of bosses here that are going to line up with the holes in the rail here, where you would put in these screws like so. Oop, like so. I would get them both started before I tighten them down. So that's all there is to mounting the control box. Almost done here. Just a little wiring to do, and there's not much to that. Okay, next here will be the wiring, and it's not all that tough. You look here, your first little pair of wires are for your limit switch, and there's no polarity here. It doesn't matter which one goes where. It's just a normally open contact switch. So you push those on. It may take a little bit of fingernail force there to get them on all the way, but they will go on there. Just don't rush it or you'll bend something or possibly break something. When you're done, the insulated part should be all the way up against the limit switch. Your next one will be the limit up here on the X gantry. It's marked XL up here at the top. So I can turn this around so you can see that. So that's this limit switch right here. Same thing, plug the 2 wires in. Again, you may need to get your fingernail behind the end of it to push it on all the way. So when you're done, it'll look like that. Now right here is a stepper motor, and that's where this cable right here will plug into. This is keyed. It has a boss area on the side that will go in towards the frame. This only goes in one way, and don't force it. If you bend them pins, you're going to have a dickens of a time getting them straightened out enough to get anything plugged back in. Okay, next up here on this end, this here goes to your y-axis stepper motor. It's the same thing. You've got this boss that sticks out. That will go towards the frame. That should be plugged in with no effort. Well, I got some wobble going on here. We'll check that out in a minute. Now next is the laser connection itself. This is polarized. One side is got a little, I don't know what you want to call that. You'll see the difference. That needs to get plugged into here, but you also need to get it around through this little bracket. Give yourself some space there. Don't make it too tight. You'll never be able to raise your laser head up and down. And we'll plug in right there like so. Something to check, I just noticed a little wobble here when I picked that up. This screw is loose on the end of the x-axis. So make sure your screws are tight on both ends. And next we need to get the cable kind of secured. Obviously don't tie it here because that needs to travel. But where it leaves the motherboard down here, let's put a cable tie around the rail on the front. That pulled up tight. Then I moved my gantry all the way down to the far limit so I could see where everything would be. There are some holes here where you could put a wire tie through. I am not pulling mine all the way tight yet because I am going to run my airline around in there too. I don't know that the stock airline that comes with this would be long enough to do what I'm about to do. Let's see here. No, it wouldn't. You would run this differently if that was the case. I'll go see if I got some other line. Yeah, I moved my gantry all the way over into the far right corner, and so I can get my line stretched out, because I'm doing this a little bit different than what a lot of people would do, since I'm going to probably use this in a production type thing. I am going to use silicone hose instead of the hose that was supplied. There's nothing wrong with this, it's just too short for what I want to do, the way I want to set it up. So by putting this all the way over in that corner, I can get my alignment and get my distance correct before I put any more wire ties on there. So what I've added here is a little guide for the tubing, and no, you won't, that doesn't come with it. I've got 3D printers, I can make stuff like that. So let me have a guide for my tubing. And now I'll leave a little bunch up there, and I can put a tie back here to hold everything in place. Of course, I have to make sure I don't make it too tight or I'll pinch my hose. I don't want to do that. And from there, I can get this lined up on my X-axis here, make sure I'm not too tight. The Wi-Fi antenna right here connects to the back of the control board. Just screws on, and you can rotate it so you can fold it over like so. This is how I have my airline run. Like I said, you're not going to have this bracket, for example, and you probably won't have the silicone hose. And this is just something I want. It would work perfectly fine with using this, but personal preference. The air pump also comes with a nice silicone hose, but it is not the right size to plug into the head. You need to use the either what I did, or you need to use the stock hose here. This hose is a larger diameter, would not fit down there. So this end here would then go to the air pump. This fits over that little nipple that sticks out there. Of course, this would plug into 120 volts. And then this end would connect to your airline. Like so. So I got all kinds of distance here now. I may shorten this one up a little bit, but for right now, we'll leave it at that. Getting close to startup here. Of course, power supply. I've got the pieces plugged together. There's a jack on the side. It'll only go in one spot, so there's no confusion there. Oh, I guess it was on already. Imagine that. For the air pump here, I'm just going to set that back off the side here, so long as my cord will still reach. And it comes on too. There is a control on it, speed control. So for right now, we're going to turn that off. The cable that's going to connect your computer is a USB A to C with a USB-C end fitting on the laser. There's a set of keys that come with it that will lock and unlock this. And it's currently unlocked. And you can take that back out and put it somewhere where you'll forget where it is. But if you have kids or somebody that you don't want messing with this, if you turn that off and lock it, take the key out, they're not going to be able to turn the laser on. Okay, a laser needs to be focused, and the way you focus this one is it comes with this little thing right here that you would put under, so that the step is underneath the shield. Loosen your thumb screws up until that shield sets right down on that step like that. Tighten your thumb screws back up and you are focused for that particular material. So So now we're focused for this piece of 1/8" plywood, which is laying around on my bench. You don't have this either, but like I said, you got a 3D printer, you can make stuff. That's so I don't lose that. This is a 10-watt head on here. The options are a 5-watt, a 10-watt, and a 20-watt. They do give you a spare lens, so you'd want to put that probably with your keys so you could forget where both of them are. Okay, there's an app you would need to put on your phone or tablet or whatever, whether you are an Apple person or an Android person. There's a QR code you can scan in their book there, and I do not have the app installed yet. I'm not going to put it on my phone. I'll probably put it on a tablet. Got it set for English, and we can go through, and as it's connect Wi-Fi, I can connect. I have to enter my password. You don't get to see that. So I got my password in there, and it says it connected successfully. Cool. So we'll go on from there, and it comes home. And there are some projects in there to do. I know it's going to need to update firmware, etc. Well, let's go to control here first. So for motion, I can move it in different directions as I want, or I can bring it back home. And it does it. So we'll go back to the next screen. The enclosure, we don't have. Air pump, you know, we got an air pump, we know that. So what else we got here? Settings. LAN is on. Virtual USB disk, I don't have one of those in there. Languages, yeah, we'll keep it as we are here. Firmware. Checking for updates. Click discovery new versions, click to update. And I won't keep this on all the time it's doing its downloading and stuff, but it is updating firmware. Nice, you can do that right from the screen. Just a note that it does take some time for this to update, so don't think that it's not working. It just takes a little while. Okay, once everything is cleared, you can click on the X here and just click on the back arrow. And we'll go back home here, we'll go to projects. So we have some examples here. We also have an SD card that's got some things on it. Engraving material. A tiger we could do. So we'll go to engraving here, processing, quality high, 1 pass, materials, it's okay, it's going to be plywood, speed medium, that's 6,030 millimeters per minute, 100% power. I'm going to change it to 90%. Okay, we're focused. Layout. Okay, right now it's going to do it in the lower corner. We don't want it there. We're going to move it up here to where move it up there to where my wood is. Okay, here's a little square here to frame it. We can see where it's going to be. Okay, that all looks good. I'm going to turn my air assist on to blow the smoke away. A little bit noisy. We'll go back and hit start. I backed the power off because I'm doing this on my saw table without anything underneath it, and I don't want to risk of anything burning through. So there it is, it's complete. Hit finished, go to control, motion, send it home. And there's the tiger we just did. I should also add, I should add it right here, that this does come with a pair of these, like, I call them cheesy safety glasses, but they're better than nothing. You absolutely need to wear eye protection. This is a, what's called a class 4 laser, which means that it's not enclosed. It's, you know, we'll get into the safety features and everything in the next video, but if you're going to watch that, even though it has a shield on it, put some eye protection on. I use these because they fit over my prescription glasses, and they are the proper color for a blue diode laser, which is orange, and they are listed and rated for this type of laser, as well as a CO2 laser. So it works for both. Big safety thing there, absolutely wear safety glasses when you're operating it. Okay, with that said, there is the assembly and initial startup of this Algo MK2 DIY kit. Normally when I do these setups and startups, I'm doing it with a laptop here and I'm running it from Lightburn, but you're able to do all this stuff right from the screen. And in the future videos here, I don't want this to get too long, we'll go into all the details about how you can operate this thing completely from the screen without having to have a laptop attached. For example, you could create a project in Lightburn, save the G-code, load it onto here, and run your projects without having to have the computer tethered to it. I have one other laser that I can do that with, but it doesn't have all the features that this screen does here and the ability to do so many different things. So I'm impressed with that. As I said, there'll be another video here coming up shortly. I'll be making a baseboard for this and a spoil board and the layout grid and all that kind of stuff. I've added a couple things on here that don't come with a kit, but it's for my own personal preference. I'll put a link in the description if you'd like to get those. We do sell them on our website. The focus holder and the little tubing support there. Inexpensive items. There'll be a link in the description on where to get this from Algo. Once again, they did provide this to me to test and demonstrate. So, got anything out of this? Appreciate getting a thumbs up. Always helps the channel. I'm Roger in the shop. See you in the next one.